we have the new copy of the sutra spoken by the Sixth Patriarch on the high seat of the treasure of the law. Now you'll notice we have printout of this new version of this sutra. Is edited by Kuang Zen Master. He is the Zen Master in America, the American Zen Master in Providence Zen Center. And he edited this to make a more modern English. The English in the previous version was a very kind of an older English. It's not very easy to understand. And this is a more modern, up-to-date English. And he edited it together with a Chinese Bhikshuni Sanim. So it's very accurate. We are very fortunate to have this new version, new copy. And I cannot give you the whole book at once because it hasn't been printed yet and it's copyrighted. It will be printed maybe in 1 more month. And so I'm not really permitted to give you the whole book. I can just give some chapters, some excerpt. This is permitted. I encourage you later to either acquire the book or buy the book because it will be printed. It should be a very nice book. The Sixth Patriarch Sutra in English, but the modern English, up-to-date English. The older one is a little bit awkward. The English a little awkward. So last month, in September, when I gave the talk, we went over the first chapter, the autobiography of the Sixth Patriarch. And those of you who were here may remember how we talked about how he was born into a very poor family. His father died very early when he was very young. And his mother was poor and miserable. So that means his mother had very little way to keep them eating well, and it's very difficult life for his mother. And they live in very bad circumstances in Kuang, Chao. Where is Kuang, Chao? You know, Korean people understand this is a Gwangju, and the Chinese say Guangzhou. This is Kuang, Chao is in the very south of China, not so far from Hong Kong. What is currently known as Hong Kong is really not far from this city of Kuang, Chao in Guangdong province. If you go to modern day Kuang, Chao, you can see the temple of the 6 banyan trees. The Korean name is Yukwasa, 6 banyan tree temple. And this temple, they have a beautiful statue of the Sixth Patriarch. He was there at some point. He was there. That's his hometown. But where he actually lived and where he actually spoke this lecture that became the sutra is a different place. I know because I went with my teachers and Master Sung San to China in, I think it was 1999, no, 1989, 89 or 1990. I went with him to China, and we went to this temple of Sixth Patriarch, where he spoke this sutra. And what's the name of that temple? Anybody know? Namwasa. Namhwa Sonsa. Sonsa means Zen temple. Namhwa Sonsa. And this temple is from Guangzhou. You must take a train for 8 hours. Slow train. The Chinese train is very slow. And 8 hours travel, then you arrive at this Namwasa, near Namwasa temple. And but this is not where actually he gave this, where he taught this material that went into this sutra was not in the temple itself. It was in the nearby in the city called the Shaoguan. And if you go there nowadays, it's a very interesting. I don't know nowadays. I'm not sure. But when I went there, about 10 years ago, maybe more than 10 years now 2007, I went there. Maybe last time went there was 1997, maybe 10 years ago. Yeah, 10 years ago. The temple where the Sixth Patriarch Kuang, where he spoke this sutra, became a market. It became a big market. And they are selling many food and killing animals in this market. And it's very sad to see this, where this temple was, became a market. And the government decided they will again buy back the land and move the market somewhere else. The Chinese government said they will do that. I don't know if they did that. But at the time when I went there, all the land that belonged to the temple of Sixth Patriarch was occupied by a market. And you could see the Bodhi trees, the big Bodhi trees in the market. They had not been cut down because people consider them holy. So they do not dare to cut down the holy Bodhi tree. Even though right near the tree in the market, they are killing and selling the animals. And it's a very kind of contrasting sight, contrasting thing to see right near the temple where the Sixth Patriarch gave this sutra. There is this big market, and they're selling animal and killing the animal in the market. And so when we went there, the Chinese government, they were a little ashamed of this. They're a little ashamed, embarrassed. They said, "Oh, we will buy the land. We make this temple." So that's where this temple was. At this temple of the Great Brahma Temple, in the city in Kuang, Chao. At the beginning of the sutra, it says here, in the great hall of Great Brahma Temple, in the city of in Kuang, Chao. And many people had gathered, and they all gathered to hear the Sixth Patriarch give this lecture. And as I talked to you before about the Sixth Patriarch, he was a very young and uneducated man. He did not even have the basic education in Chinese characters. He did not know Chinese characters, the Hanmun. He did not know Hanja. And he only worked chopping the firewood and getting money and give the money to his mother. He was just a good son. Very simple, good son. He took care of his mother, and he did not have any really good education. He did have chance for education. But he heard a monk chanting the Diamond Sutra, and at the moment that he heard the Diamond Sutra, his mind opened, and he had the experience of enlightenment. It's very unusual for somebody to have such an experience very early at such a young age. And so he, after that, he went to see the Fifth Patriarch, and he had his enlightenment confirmed. And he was given transmission of the robe and bowls. And it's very unusual for somebody without any education, without any background, to get such a awakening. But this was his case, this was his story. And I wanted you to please to go to page 11 we can review on the first chapter. I think we went as far as page... Actually, let's go first to page 8. Page 8. On the first chapter. Does everybody have page 8? Okay, 8? Okay. So if you look on page 8, it says here, that the fifth patriarch was reading the Diamond Sutra to the sixth patriarch, and then the sixth patriarch spoke. He said, "Who would have thought that our true nature is intrinsically pure? Who would have thought that our true nature is intrinsically free?" Does everybody understand this word, intrinsically? Little difficult word for you Korean people. Intrinsically means by itself. By itself. Who would have thought that our true nature is intrinsically free from appearing and disappearing? Who would have thought that our true nature is intrinsically self-sufficient? Who would have thought that our true nature is intrinsically never moving? Who would have thought that our true nature gives rise to all things? Okay, so the speech that he gave was when he had another awakening upon hearing the Diamond Sutra. When he heard the Diamond Sutra, the Kumgangyang, he had awakening the first time in the market. But then when the fifth patriarch read it to him at midnight in the temple, again he had awakening. And he said, the true nature is intrinsically pure. This word intrinsically, you all have it in front of you, so I won't write it down. But this meaning is in itself, not it's self-sufficient. It doesn't need anything from outside. And so who would have thought that our true nature gives rise to all things? So he was expressing the right from the true nature. He's expressing himself right from the true nature. Then the patriarch, knowing that he had realized his true nature, he said, "For one," this is a very famous speech, he said, "for one who does not know their own mind, there is no use learning Buddhism." If you don't know your own mind, you can study Buddhism for a long time, but it's no use. It's pointless. On the other hand, if one knows their own mind and sees intuitively their own nature, they are a great person, a teacher of gods and humans, a Buddha. So, in a couple very short sentences, in a few short sentences, the fifth patriarch kind of sums up, in a nutshell, what he's teaching. He said, if you don't understand your own mind, even you may read many good books on Buddhism, you may hear many good lectures, you may understand, it's not going to be really of much such use to you. But if you know your mind and see your own nature, then you are a great person, you're a teacher of gods and humans, a Buddha. And this is a very fundamental part of the Zen Buddhism, the Mahayana, the Sun Buddhism, also in Korea. And many times you see in Korea, we hear the people say, the monks will say, 경선선불, see your nature, become Buddha. This is that point. If you don't see your nature, you cannot become Buddha. You see your nature, you can become Buddha. And in this case, they said, see your nature and know your mind, they are not different. Some people think those are two different things. But knowing your mind, your true mind, and seeing your nature are not different. They are the same point. So we have to realize that They are the same point. We have to realize for ourselves that seeing our nature and knowing our mind are not two different things. They are the same, one and the same thing. And underneath here, there's a note by the Dhyana master, that means sun master, Dhyana master Huian. And he said here, he writes here, to be free from any attachment means not to abide in form or matter, not to abide in sound, not to abide in delusion, not to abide in enlightenment, not to abide in the quintessence, not to abide in the tribute. So this means not to stay in any one particular state. To use the mind means to let the one mind manifest itself everywhere. When we let our mind dwell on piety, dwell on good or on evil, good or evil manifests itself, but our true nature is thereby obscured. But when our mind dwells on nothing, we realize that all the worlds of the 10 quarters are nothing but the manifestation of one mind. Now this is a little difficult speech, kind of difficult to understand, yeah. But this is a sort of an intellectual explanation of this not abiding, not attached, and using the mind. Have all of you, are you familiar with the Diamond Sutra? Have you read Diamond Sutra? So you understand Diamond Sutra is not about just being attached, but it's about using the mind. How do you use the mind correctly moment to moment? Not just being detached. Some people think Diamond Sutra and Buddhism means being detached. How can you be detached all the time? You are detached even in your everyday life. When you're with your family, it's very difficult to be detached. When you're with your friends, or when you have a job to do, how can you always be detached? But the point here is not detachment or attachment. The point is to use one's mind in a way that it will be free from any attachment. So we look at this translation is very good because it avoids many of the problem in previous translations. One should use one's mind in such a way that it will be free from any attachment. Does everybody understand that? If you understand that, then you should get enlightenment right now. Just like Hui Neng, he heard that sentence and he at once became thoroughly enlightened. Okay? So Hui Neng, without anybody knowing, the Dharma was transmitted to him at midnight. If you look down here at the bottom of page 8, it says, thus without anyone knowing, the Dharma was transmitted to me at midnight. And consequently, I became the inheritor of the teaching of the Sudden School, as well as of the robe and bowl. And the Fifth Patriarch said, you are now the Sixth Patriarch. Take good care of yourself and deliver as many sentient beings as possible. Spread and preserve the teaching and don't let it come to an end. So take, next page, take note of my stanza. Stanza means poem, okay? Sentient beings who sow the seeds of enlightenment in the field of causation will reap the fruit of Buddhahood. Inanimate objects void of Buddha nature sow not and reap not. So this means sentient beings can find a way to achieve enlightenment. They can sow the seeds of enlightenment. In the field of causation, they will reap the fruit of Buddhahood. So if sentient beings, if they keep their minds clear and they use their mind in a clear fashion, then they will be able to reap the fruit of Buddhahood. But inanimate objects have no Buddha nature. They cannot sow and they cannot reap. For example, this cup cannot try to get enlightenment. This cup cannot make a cause to get enlightenment. We can use this cup to hold the water to drink, but this cup of itself has no consciousness. Even though I may wish that the cup gets enlightenment, the cup will not get enlightenment. It is an inanimate object. We call this inanimate object, has no Buddha nature. It cannot make a cause. It cannot sow, and it cannot get the result. But sentient beings who have the mind, they can sow the seed of enlightenment. All of you have the Buddha nature, and you are able to sow the seed, plant the seed of enlightenment. Meaning, you can find your way to getting enlightenment. It's possible. You can attain enlightenment in this lifetime by making the good connection and meeting teacher and also practicing. You can open your eye. You can clear up your mind, and you can attain enlightenment in this life. But for example, some being who is already passed away, can they get enlightenment? Let's say a human being just died yesterday. Can that person get enlightenment? Not in this life. They are no longer sentient being. They are already inanimate being. Just like this cup, just like this pen, we can use these things, but they can of themselves, they cannot sow, they cannot reap. They cannot make the cause. So this is a very important point. Many people think like this. If only I get more money, if only I had more money, if only I had good partner, everything would change. I have a new cause and a new life and this and this. But this is actually quite a mistaken notion. This is ignorance, because the money itself, if you get more money or you get a bigger house or a new car or more better material life, by themselves, these things will not get you enlightenment. These things cannot cause you to enlighten and cannot make the good conditions for your enlightenment. If we are not in the realm of the sentient being, we cannot enlighten. No. And if we are not in the active state of the sentient being, it's very difficult for us to get enlightenment, because we must use our mind in a way that it's not attached for us to get enlightenment. This is why many great monks, like they refuse to lie down to sleep, because when you lie down, they say you are like the corpse. You are not using the mind. You are not the actively able to use your mind when you lie down and sleep all the many hours. Of course we all need sleep to stay healthy, but while we are sleeping, it's very difficult to get enlightenment because the mind is clouded, the mind is not clear. So this is an important point. The inanimate objects, they don't have a Buddha nature. They cannot sow, they cannot reap. Understand? But people, they really love inanimate objects. Some people feel like, oh, when they get the new, beads, very high quality beads. I give these beads. Oh, look, you have a high quality bead. Now you can practice Buddhism. Then they turn the bead. Oh, they feel so good. Oh yeah, no. But it's not the bead really. It's inside themselves that make the Buddha nature. But people need these sort of crutch. It's like a crutch. We have many things like the beads, and we have, this nice kind of chukbi, hit, and all these things to help us. But it's already complete inside ourselves. We already are complete inside. But we're looking for this some kind of material thing. Actually, the most important is ourself, not this material thing. Okay? So then he added, when the Patriarch of Bodhidharma first came to China, most people had no confidence in him. So this robe was handed down as a testimony from one patriarch to another. So he showed this robe, and he said, this robe, this Dharma is transmitted from mind to mind, and the recipient must realize it by his own efforts. From time immemorial, it has been the practice for one Buddha to pass to his successor the essence of the Dharma, and for one patriarch to transmit to another the esoteric teaching from mind to mind. As the robe may give rise to dispute, you are the last one to inherit it. So he said to him, nowadays people don't understand themselves, they don't understand, and actually they're fighting, so we better not hand the robe down anymore. We don't pass on the robe. You are the last one to receive this robe from the Buddha. This robe is the kasa that came from the Buddha. And the bowls are the bowls that came from the Buddha. And they were handed down generation to generation. But from when the fifth patriarch gave, after this fifth patriarch gave to the sixth patriarch the robe and bowls, it was the last time that they were transmitted. Because already people fighting over them. Already people there was too many disputes over them. And the people think that the Dharma is inside that robe and bowls. Can the Dharma be inside the robe and bowl? Can it? No, cannot. The robe and the bowl are, we say, symbol of the Dharma. They are symbolic of the Dharma. Understand? They are only symbol. They are not the Dharma. But because people's faith is very small, and because they are not really clear about their own selves, their true mind, so they seek outside things. So people think, oh, if I get the rope, I get the Dharma. If I get the bowls of the Buddha, I can become Buddha. Yeah, already you know many people they are very excited when they hear that there is some part of the Buddha, like Buddha's tooth, some part of Buddha's tooth. I went to Sri Lanka, and you go to one temple, there's big pagoda. It's all about the Buddha's tooth. But what's the point? If you see the Buddha's tooth, you bow to the Buddha's tooth, and some people think you are bowing to the Buddha. But the true Buddha, is this a true Buddha? We don't know. We don't know where this tooth came from. This is a true Buddha we must find inside ourselves. This is what the Sixth Patriarch was teaching. He said, you cannot find the true Buddha outside yourself. You cannot find the true Dharma in just a robe, in just a kasa or bowls. It's not just the Dharma. You must find it inside yourself. This is a point of Sixth Patriarch teaching.